Autumn is fading and winter is approaching fast. The temperature has already dropped into the negative degrees, and most of the fall leaves have fallen from the trees. Autumns seem to go by fast, but I'm really looking forward to the winter. During this changing of seasons, it makes me realize how thankful I am for all the time I've been able to spend up here, enjoying each season to the fullest. The fresh green spring, when the leaves and flowers are blossoming. During this time of year, even the rainstorms have their own kind of beauty. The bears come out of hibernation, and you can see wildlife everywhere you look. Summer is the season of outdoor cooking and campfires, and spending time with the family at the lake.
He went swimming!
The weather is perfect for a little bit of camping, and the blueberries are ripe. And after a long day of playing in the sun, you can always cool down in the cool lake. Autumn is when you get to pull out your flannels and enjoy the island for all its beauty. Vibrant colors and cold mornings. And of course, a lot of preparations for winter.
If you stood here, you just turned into a snowman.
Yeah, your hair,
Freeze.
your hair is white as good.
Winter is, in my opinion, the most beautiful time of the year, when the lake is fully frozen and the treetops are covered in white, glistening snow. Although it's going to be a challenge, I'm very excited to spend the winter in the workshop for the first time. I'm also looking forward to trying my hand at ice fishing again, and maybe taking trips to other lakes to try the fishing there as well. During the winter months, our food and supplies from town have to be sledded in with snow dogs. And our drinking water comes from buckets through a hole in the ice that is then filtered indoors. It may be freezing outside, but inside the cabin, it's always cozy and warm. I have a few chores to do around the island and in some of the other cabins. So I thought it'd be a perfect time to kind of explain the history of the island. A lot of you guys were asking about that, and also show some of the cabins. I'm not going to go too in depth because that would take a really long time and for privacy reasons. But yeah, let's take a look around. About 20 years ago, my dad, his brothers, and my grandpa bought a 10-acre island on a lake in northern Ontario. The previous owner had developed the island as a hunting camp back in the 1940s. He owned a fleet of bush planes and operated a fly-in service for hunters, anglers, and prospectors. He built about 10 cabins on the island for his pilots, cook, family, and friends. Today, we work hard to preserve these buildings and even add to them without losing the charm and ambience of the original camp. The island is surrounded by thousands of acres of crown land and hundreds of other lakes. I've been coming to this island as long as I can remember, and now it feels like home. For the past year, I've been working on restoring one of the old cabins and learning new skills and honing old ones so that one day I can purchase my own piece of land and start a homestead. There are many beautiful animals that inhabit this area, including moose, white-tailed deer, black bears, wolves, and many others. And now let's take a look at some of the cabins. So the main lodge here is the largest cabin on the lake by far. It is quite huge, and it's really just amazing craftsmanship to make a log cabin of this size, especially back in the 40s. And every time I walk around and just look at this place, I'm always amazed. Now that I know how hard it actually is to notch logs and, to build your own cabin, since I'm working on one right now, this is truly an amazing place. This cabin is used by some of the family members as well as my Opa and Oma. And then also in the winter time, we'll usually move these couches. If we do a snowmobile trip or something, we will have all of the guys kind of laying on the floor in here next to the fireplace. And it's kind of like the hangout spot during times like that. There is also an old VHS player with more VHSs, so it's a great spot to watch movies, especially with a larger group. There is electricity throughout the whole building, and tons of antiques, just tons of old radios and different artifacts from the lake and the previous owners. One of my favorite things in here is this old cast iron chandelier, which doesn't have any light bulbs, it doesn't take electricity. They just would have had tons of candles burning up there, and it must have been quite the sight to see when they were still using it. There's this bedroom in the back side of the cabin that has 3 beds, and again, it's just a beautiful room. There's also a beautiful master bedroom with a bathroom attached. There's an old composting toilet from the 1940s, which is pretty cool. There's this huge walkway leading in with all these cabinets and clothing racks. So you can imagine the old hunters back in the day, after they came back from a hunt, would come in and be able to hang up everything and put everything away. Right now, those shelves are just full of very neat old antiques, different items. One of the coolest ones is they have clay pigeons that they'd use for skeet shooting, but they're wrapped in newspapers from back in the day, and some of them are really, really old. We actually have one in our room to keep it safe from the time when England declared war on Germany, and it's got a picture of Winston Churchill's face on it, and it's pretty cool. This room, I'm assuming, was their old study, maybe where they would plan trips and stuff, because this whole room is full of old maps and photos of the hunters and documents, and it's pretty cool to look at. So this here is the old cookhouse. There's not too much to show in here since it's kind of, one of the less used buildings, unless we have a whole bunch of family members up or a lot of the guys or something. We don't really come in here too much, but it's just a really cozy cabin. It's got like this really, nice old hunting lodge vibe, which makes sense. Lots of antiques in here. There's an old wood burning stove and like a wood burning cooking top and everything. And yeah, I just really like it in here. It's kind of got like this permanent smell that just reminds me of my childhood, a good smell. It's also where we keep a lot of the old VHS movies and this old VHS TV where me and my cousins, when we were very young, would come and we would all kind of gather in there. It was a great place with lots of chairs and couches to like play board games or just to watch movies or hang out. And it's obviously a cookhouse, so it's got a big counter with sinks. There's a fridge, like I mentioned, the old stove. So if you're cooking for a lot of people, it's a really great place to do that. Right outside of the cookhouse in the generator room, there's a big deck that leads down to the main dock, which is where whenever the family comes up, they park their boats and sea-doos. And that's not the original dock, but that's where the old one that you saw in the old photos there, that's where they used to park the float plane sometimes. There's another spot on the other side of the island where they do that. But then that big plane, which I'm not sure exactly what that one is, but it looks pretty cool. That all used to be parked out in front of here as well. These stairs also lead to my favorite cabin on the island, or I guess I should just say sauna. This sauna is all log scribed as well. It's another beautiful building. And like I've mentioned a few times on the channel, I absolutely love saunas. And this one's really nice and big. It takes a little bit longer than your modern one to get going. It's all wood powered. It's got two benches here where people can sit. And, your typical wood burning sauna stove with the rocks that you pour the water on. And this whole room just smells like cedar and it's very nice. I like the size because then whenever we have all the guy cousins up, we can all fit in there and yeah, it's a lot of fun. The stove's right here, so it's outside, which is also kind of nice. So you're not cooking to death while getting it hot. And the water is just a few steps away. Behind the cookhouse is the boathouse, which is actually a two-story building. It's the only two-story building on the island. This is the building that a few videos ago, we built this new walkway going down and along. And the top floor is kind of a big bunkhouse with all these beds all the way along, tons of beds, and this is where all the guys usually stay in the summertime. It's got tons of windows, pretty good airflow, and it generally keeps decently cool in the summer. This here is the bottom floor of the boathouse. It's got two boat slips, so two boats at a time can be taken out. Those are generally the two smaller aluminum boats that you see us driving around. All of the bigger wakeboard boats and stuff that my uncles have, they take back with them. So the two legends go in here, get lifted up by the pulley system, which is original from the 1940s and still works great. And then besides boats, we store a lot of things to do with boats, old engines, engine parts, stuff like that. We currently have our snow dogs in here, which I'll need to pull out as soon as there's snow. some of the old like water sport things like wakeboards and windsurf boards. Right outside of the boathouse is of course where I stay. Most of you guys know what the inside looks like. If you want to see more, then you can check out my early videos when I was kind of restoring it inside. And you're going to see a lot more of it, especially this winter. So I'm not going to talk too much about that one. That is a cold cellar that my parents and brother fixed up. There's not really much inside of it right now. It's just empty. This was where an old storage shed used to be. And I tore it down because it's falling apart and started building a new one. And you can check out all those videos on the channel if you're interested. I'm going to keep working on that as well as soon as I get the time. So yeah, that's basically all of the cabins. There's a few other ones that you've probably seen on and off of the channel as I walked by and stuff that belong to my uncles. And they're pretty similar to our family cabin. Here you can see one of the original trail markers from when this was a hunting lodge. These are kind of scattered all throughout. We've taken some down over the years if we notice that they'll be harming the trees or something, but for most of them, they're still good and they're not causing any trouble. So it's a really kind of unique piece of history to this island. There's markers 1 through I think 20 all around marking different trails in different areas. There is a trail system with a couple different trails, the 2 main ones being this one, which leads around the entire island, so it loops around and eventually leads to every cabin. And then there's also one going through the middle if you want to just cross to the other side without walking all the way along. These trails are pretty, you know, like they're just island trails. There's a couple of those old markers, but other than that, you just see where people have walked and kind of follow your way through the woods. One of our big things up here is we don't want to change too much. Even when we were working on our cabin, and as I work on, you know, the workshop and then the cabin I'm building, I'm always mindful of you know, not making this place too modern. We love how it is and, you know, the history of the place. So having rough trails or anything like that is actually a bonus to us. Here behind me you can see some of the remnants of the old hunting stands from the original owners. They're just old pieces from mostly wood milled from the island, and it's pretty cool as you're walking through to see. Obviously there's a lot of wildlife, as you guys saw. Tons of different animals in the area. The guys that ran the hunting lodge even had a pet deer on the island for a while. We learned that from reading through some of the old documents inside of the main lodge. Yeah, so they had a deer roaming around, and obviously they had hunting dogs that were apparently friends with it. And there's a lot of these old hunting stands scattered throughout the island. For those of you who are new to the channel, let me introduce you to my German short-haired pointer named Lando. We got Lando about 5 years ago now, as we were traveling through the state of Oregon.
Oh, probably gotta go potty.
Adorable.
I have some paperwork though to fill out for you.
Okay.
He looks sleepy.
What a beautiful pup.
He is a great dog. Like, we just absolutely love him.
After a few weeks, we brought Lando up to the island for the very first time. He immediately took off running as he smelled new scents and explored his new home.
Where's my helper? Huh?
Yeah, Lando. Can you put him in? Good boy. Good. Come on, look at him. He hauls. Good boy. Oh, he's a good boy. He wants to run right up in there.
Lando still loves exploring the island as much as he did the first day he arrived, and he still has just as much energy today. It's -2 again. I think it's supposed to heat up later in the day, but with that cold weather, we still have some more projects to do that need to be done before winter arrives. Not many, but just a few. Right now I'm going to be walking out and tilting our solar panels. In the winter months, and as it gets a bit later, we're already starting to notice it up here. The sun sets very early and it rises late, so we don't get much sun time. But then also it doesn't rise fully, like it doesn't come overhead of us like it does in the summer months and what most of you are probably used to. It goes around, it just kind of like peaks up on the side and then goes along the side and then goes down again. So all of the sun comes from this direction, which is, I believe, yeah, like kind of the east, and it kind of just sticks along that rim of the sky, I guess. So I'm going to tilt our solar panels a little bit on an angle like this so we keep as much solar energy coming in as possible. So as time goes on, I'll tilt those solar panels on even more of an angle. Right now we're still getting a decent bit of sun. As you can see, it is kind of going on that angle I mentioned instead of coming right over us like it usually does, but it's not as extreme as it will be. So we don't need them to be like fully flat facing that direction yet. I'm going to be heading over to one of my neighbors here on the island, Brad's cabin. He's heading over now that it's stopped raining and the weather's looking a little bit better to prepare his cabin for winter. And he asked me to give him a hand, so I'm going to head over and help him out with that. One thing when you're living off the grid like this, it's always great to have awesome neighbors, and Brad's one of the best you could ask for. He's helped me many times and brought me lots of food, whether it's moose meat or trout over the years. So I'm glad I finally get the chance to repay the favor. He is located on the other side of the lake, so it's a little bit of a boat ride, but it shouldn't take too long for us to get over there, and we'll give him a hand before heading back.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's great seeing him again. I also got to see Chris and Kendra, who run the marina here. And Brad, like always, left me and Peter some goodies. So I'll show you guys that when we get inside. It's really cold right now.
Well guys, I'm sure you've heard the saying that a good neighbor's always ready with a cup of sugar or a cup of cream. Well, Brad gave me a full 3-course meal. He gave me this delicious looking frozen pizza. He said he really liked them. They're from a local bakery, local, you know, it's the nearest town. And it looks absolutely delicious. It's definitely going to be a lot better than the frozen pizzas I have, which are from Costco. He also gave some lamb skewers, which is perfect because I love lamb, as kind of an appetizer. And then what I'm most excited about is he gave me some spaghetti sauce. I completely drew a blank on what that's called, but with moose meat in it from a moose he had hunted. And I love moose. I barely get to eat it because I haven't done any hunting for that big of game ever. So the only time I've actually had it is when I visited Newfoundland and whenever Brad stops by. He also gave some nice pasta to go along with it. If it wasn't so late, I would cook it right now, but I just had a big meal that Peter cooked, so I'll have to save this for the next video. That being said, it is late, so I think I'm going to call the video here. Please let me know in the comments if you liked it. A lot of you mentioned in some of my earlier videos that you'd like to know a bit more about the history and just, you know, everything about the island, so I hope this really helped out. I also gave a little bit of refresh on what I've been doing in the past couple months because there's a lot more of you now, and yeah, I just wanted to get a little refresh, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If there's anything else you want to know or anything you would recommend me trying or doing, please leave a comment and let me know. I try to get back to all of them and I really enjoy hearing from you guys. So as always, a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. Your support really means a lot and it helps me to be able to keep doing what I love doing and bring you guys new content each week. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to subscribe so you can join me on the next adventure. And as always, I will see you guys next week.